Let's kick things off with a moment that stunned the entire world: the 2011 World Championships in Daegu, South Korea. Usain Bolt was, without a doubt, the fastest man on Earth, Lightning Bolt himself. He was the reigning triple Olympic and world champion from Beijing and Berlin, holding the 100-meter and 200-meter world records. In the men's 100-meter final in Daegu, everyone, the crowd and the global audience, expected another iconic performance. Cameras were locked on Bolt in his starting blocks. But when the starting pistol fired, another sound echoed, the signal for a false start. The camera zoomed in on Bolt, and his expression said it all. He had false started, moving from the blocks before the allowed 0.100 second reaction time. Under new rules introduced in 2010, which removed the possibility of a second false start, Bolt was immediately disqualified. The world was in shock. The race was eventually won by Bolt's training partner and fellow Jamaican, Johan Blake, in 9.92 seconds. This was Bolt's first major defeat or disqualification in a championship in his career, and a powerful reminder of how a tiny mistake can bring down even the biggest favorite. Next, we travel to the 1984 Los Angeles Olympics, a home games for the USA, where Mary Decker was one of the biggest stars and most anticipated gold medal hopefuls. She had already proven her dominance by winning both the 1,500-meter and 3,000-meter world titles at the 1983 World Championships in Helsinki, a rare double. In the women's 3,000-meter race, inside a packed Olympic stadium, everyone expected her to win easily. However, on the fourth lap, something dramatic happened. Decker and the young South African barefoot runner Zola Budd collided. Decker fell to the track, injured her hip, and had to pull out of the race in tears. The crowd and commentators were furious at Budd, accusing her of deliberately causing the collision. Budd was initially disqualified, but later reinstated. This incident went down in Olympic history as one of its most famous dramas, where a favorite's dream was crushed in a tragic accident. Yelena Isinbayeva was the undisputed queen of women's pole vault. She had won 2 Olympic golds, 2 world championships, and broken the world record an incredible 28 times, eventually setting it at 5.06 meters. At the 2009 World Championships in Berlin, she was expected to continue her winning streak and perhaps even break her own record again. However, in the final, everything went wrong. Isinbayeva started at 4.75 meters, which was her usual comfortable opening height. Yet, she failed on all 3 of her attempts and finished with no mark. The crowd was stunned. It was a complete collapse for an overwhelming favorite who was used to dominating completely. Isinbayeva herself later commented that she had technical issues and a mental block. Swedish Stefan Holm was one of the big names in high jump and an incredibly consistent performer. He had won Olympic gold in Athens 2004 and 3 indoor world championships. Holm was known for his amazing jumping technique and his ability to clear heights well above his own stature. He went into the 2008 Beijing Olympics as one of the strongest medal contenders and a clear favorite. Although Holm made it to the final, he didn't find his best form there. He missed out on a medal, finishing 4th with a result of 2.32 meters. This was a huge disappointment in Holm's career, as much was expected of him, and it was his last Olympic final. Holm's case is a good example of how even experienced and mentally strong athletes can fall short at the most important moment. Mo Farah was the undisputed king of long-distance running in the mid-2010s, Sir Mo. He had achieved the rare double-double, winning both the 5,000-meter and 10,000-meter Olympic golds in London and Rio, plus multiple world championship titles. At his home World Championships in London 2017, Mo Farah was expected to cap off his successful track career with another double. He had already dramatically won the 10,000-meter race. However, in the 5,000-meter final, something happened that hadn't been seen in years. he lost. Ethiopia's Mukhtar Idris managed to surprise Farah in the final sprint, taking gold in 13:32.79, while Farah finished with silver in 13:33.22. It was Farah's first loss in a major championship on the track since 2011, and a significant disappointment, symbolizing the end of an era in track and field. China's absolute superstar and national hero in track and field was Liu Xiang. He was the reigning Olympic champion from Athens, world champion from Osaka, and a former world record holder in the 110-meter hurdles, 12.88. At his home Olympics in Beijing 2008, Liu was expected to rise as a national hero and win gold in front of a massive home crowd. The pressure was immense. However, right after the first heat began, after Liu had arrived at the starting blocks and made one false start, he simply walked off the track, announcing his withdrawal from the competition due to an Achilles tendon injury. The stadium fell completely silent, and many Chinese fans broke into tears. It was a massive and unexpected disappointment for all of China and for Liu himself, who was under such enormous expectations. Kim Collins from St. Kitts and Nevis was a respected and experienced sprinter, having won the 100-meter World Championship in Paris 2003 and numerous other major medals throughout his career. The 2012 London Olympics would have been Collins's fifth and likely final Olympics, and he was still in good form. He was entered in the 100-meter race, and many expected him to reach at least the semifinals. However, just before the competition, news broke that Collins had to pull out of the 100 meters. It later emerged that he had been removed from the team and sent home after being absent from the Olympic Village to spend time with his wife, against team rules. This was a tragic and controversial way to end a veteran athlete's Olympic dream, and it sparked much debate about team logistics and athlete freedom. Ethiopian Kenenisa Bekele was an iconic figure in long-distance running and one of the most successful endurance runners of all time. He held both the 5,000-meter and 10,000-meter world records and had won 3 Olympic golds and 5 world championships. He went into the 2012 London Olympics as the reigning 10,000-meter Olympic champion from Beijing and was still a clear favorite. However, in the London final, despite Bekele running a good race, he ultimately finished 4th in 27:35 and 19, while Farah won gold. This 4th-place finish wasn't a disaster, but it was a clear and unexpected disappointment for Bekele and his fans, who were used to seeing him dominate. It showed that even legends can miss out on medals when new stars emerge. Kenyan David Rudisha is known as the world record holder in the 800 meters, 140.91, and a 2-time Olympic gold medalist, 2012, 2016. He's one of the greatest 800-meter runners of all time, capable of completely dominating the event. However, from 2017 to 2019, Rudisha suffered from multiple injuries that kept him off the track. At the 2019 World Championships in Doha, he was expected to make his return to the top and compete in the 800-meter again. Fans and experts hoped for his comeback, but at the last minute, Rudisha was forced to withdraw from the competition. This prolonged injury spell and his resulting withdrawal were a great loss for the sport, as one of its biggest stars couldn't make it back to the very top. It was a disappointment for many who wanted to see him compete again. Boldon from Trinidad and Tobago was one of the most successful sprinters of his time. He had already won the 200-meter World Championship in 1997 and earned several Olympic medals in Atlanta in 1996. He went into the 2000 Sydney Olympics as one of the strongest medal contenders, and because his toughest rivals, Michael Johnson and Maurice Green, weren't competing in the 200-meter due to injuries, Boldon was considered by many to be a clear gold medal favorite. However, in the final, Boldon made a tactical error. He started the race too slowly, falling far behind the leaders during the first 100 meters. Although he unleashed an incredible final sprint in the last 100 meters, it wasn't enough to lift him to victory. He ultimately finished with a bronze medal in 20.20, while Greece's Konstantinos Kanteris won gold. Boldon himself was clearly disappointed with his result, as he believed he could have done better and knew he had made a tactical mistake that cost him the gold medal. This was a case where a favorite didn't physically collapse, but a tactical failure cost him the golden dream.